Hello everybody. Well, as you may imagine, owning the bike that I do, Pulse Adrenaline 125, I get an awful lot of questions asking me about it. And as my subs are going up, I'm getting more and more questions. And a few months ago, last year, I made a Pulse Adrenaline Q&A video. And I'm basically remaking that, a bit updated, and now in glorious HD with my stealth. Because at that point I was still using my iPhone, which technically was HD, but whatever. Anyway, right, starting at the top, Pulse Adrenaline 125. The one I have is a 57 plate, so it's one of the first ones that came in the country. It has a drum brake on the back and standard light bulbs. If you buy one that's, I think it's after 2010, you're going to get a disc brake on the back and LED lights. Right, so, and they cost about £1,400 brand new on the road, roughly. Insurance cost me, the first year was about £700. I was 22 at the time. And since then I've been riding over 4 years, and I now pay about £300 fully comp with some legal cover on top of that, so it's about £275 for fully comp. Tax is £15, £16 even, it went up £1. You only need a CBT to ride this bike, so there's basically the legal side of it. And the costing, what's the next side of it? Reliability and things like that. I've had this bike over 4 years. I've done 34,448 kilometres, which is about 21,000 miles. I had very little trouble with this bike reliability wise. I've only ever had it break down on me once, and that was due to what I thought at the time was a clutch problem, and actually what it is a pin that goes through the centre of the engine that actuates the clutch. Now, I thought mine went, because mine seized basically, and it worked out cheaper to buy a whole new engine than it did to have it split and fixed. But the thing is, you see, you're all going to say, oh, well, Chinese bikes, they go wrong. Well, I thought it was just a one-off, and I've since found out there may have actually been a bit of a sneaky quiet recall amongst the dealerships in late 2007, is it? Late 2007, early 2008 maybe, where this is a common problem, and they recalled the engines, but they didn't recall ones they'd sold, so basically I got screwed. But since then I've looked into it, and I've heard nothing from anyone else, so it must have been a very small batch, and they sorted it out, and I was unfortunate to get one of the ones which had the problem. But on the plus side, I have an entire spare engine full of spares. What else? So that's reliability. The question I get all the time, what's the top speed of a Pulse Adrenaline 125? That depends on how you looked after it and how you ran it in, as far as I can tell. Some people say this bike will only do 55. Mine will do 60 and 4th. So that's not true. I've topped this bike out on a good road, probably with a slight tailwind, at 75. 70 is not a problem, 75 is somewhat of a rarity, but it's a quick enough bike. Earlier last month, I rode around the entire outside of the Isle of Wight. It was over 110 miles in one day. Bike didn't complain once, went up some 25% gradient hills, not a problem. It's a brilliant bike to ride. I cannot tell you how good it is. I have ridden a few Yamahas, I've ridden a couple of Yamahas, but also the things like the Honda CG, which I've also ridden when I had a rental bike, and I hated it compared to this bike. No fun at all. So that's the riding side, and reliability, and parts. Parts can be a problem to get if they're out of the country. Generally they're not. Generally nowadays they are in stock. When I got this bike I had a lot of problems. You people buying them nowadays, you haven't got half the trouble I had then. because as I say, this was one of the first, so no one had even heard about it. Finding insurance at the time was a trouble. But I sorted it in the end. I went with a company called Rampdale for my insurance, by the way, and they are absolutely rubbish, but they do get it done eventually. Like, I've had 2 claims on this bike, which you will see if you go through my videos all about them. Yeah, so as I say, parts aren't such a problem these days, and I would suggest that you would use a company called Chinese Motorcycle Parts Online. It's ChineseMotorcyclePartsOnline.co.uk, but if you search Chinese motorcycle parts online, you will find them, and they actually are very helpful. I've had problems with them before, and I have slagged them off quite a lot, but that's due down mostly to stress, because I want my bike back. Tyres. I should talk about tyres. Everyone says these Chinese tyres don't have any grip, because they're made by a company called Kingston, which no one's ever heard of. Well, I'll tell you this much. They're fine. Everyone that's crying, do remember that a lot of people who buy this bike are a little bit chavvy. Not insulting anyone, I'm not saying you're chavvy, I'm just saying it's the type of bike that would be picked up because of the fact that they're cheap to start with, they'll be cheap second hand, they look cool, they're quite quick, and that tends to attract the chavvier sort of genre of motorcyclist. And they don't really know what they're talking about, and they say, oh, these tyres have got no grip. No, it's cold, is what it is. Cold rubber doesn't stick. In the summer, these tyres stick like you wouldn't fucking believe. They're like fucking glue. But this time of year, not so much. Brakes are quite good. The rear brake on this, the drum brake, has got problems to do with sticking when it gets to the extent of its adjustment, but that may be down to my bike being very grubby. As I say, when I did clean it, it made things a lot easier. What should I... Oh, mods, that'll be another one. Right, I'll go down here. Now, mods I've done on this bike. I get this asked all the time. Handlebars, these aren't original, these are replaced. The original ones aren't very nice, do replace them, they weigh a ton as well. Handguards, these were good. It's going to cost me 20 quid. I have no mirrors at the moment because I had to take one of them off and then I took both off to be matching, and I'm actually quite liking the mirrorless look. This, which is missing, you can see, that's due to it being broken from it being dropped, and a long time ago that side broke, and I stuck it with glue with epoxy, and the epoxy came undone when I was caning it over some earth lumps somewhere. Yeah, the plastics on this bike can be a problem. As I say, this is from it being dropped, it's got a crack in it. I do need to replace the plastics on this, and they are relatively expensive, but I will do it eventually. Exhaust, that's an important one. The standard exhaust rusts like a bastard. I would have sworn they made it from rust, the amount it rusts so quickly. But if you can look around online, you might be able to find a dog to piss on you. Hello, doggy. Do you want to fuck off and stop ruining my video? Thank you. Yeah, the standard exhaust rusts. This one's fully stainless and cost me £120 with delivery off eBay. Sadly to say, I can't find these anymore. But mine's keeping up real good. There's no problems with this at all. It's not rusted at all. It's doing fine, and it's got one less baffle, so it's slightly louder. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else to tell you about, basically. Oh, economy. I forgot about economy. I did 110 miles going to the Isle of Wight, up and down hills. And I was going fast most of the time, keeping up with the 600. Well, he was letting me keep up, but yeah. And it cost me £6 in fuel, £6, and that's about 1.30 a litre. So it's good. It's 80-90 miles to the gallon, I believe. So as fuel goes, sip, sip. Just a little sip. Just a little sip, and another one. That'll do me fine. So I'll catch you all next time.